Los Diaz Gunners Collective. Back at it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. You already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. And as you can tell by that today's thumbnail, yes, indeedy, I'm going to write graffiti on the bus. Whew. The Perros, right? The Fresno Bulldogs and the Gladiator Wars that not a lot of people know about, that they went through in 2018, 19, and 20. Oh, bet you didn't know about that one. Oh, you didn't know? Well, you better ask somebody. In a minuto style or direct fashion, we're going to get straight into it. I'm going to give you the whole rundown and talk about how the administration dictates this stuff, man, and how it happens. Over time, it's happened a lot. I've went through it. You've went through it. A lot of people have went through these Gladiator Wars. Now, everybody knows about the Gladiator Wars that happened in Corco, in Corcoran Prison. You know, and this is what really took place. There's even vatos that are on YouTube, man, that went through that. You know, and you got to give them the ultimate respect for going through the plight that they went through. And they tell their stories, man, how people used to turn their light on and light off. And when the light went out, when the light dimmed, it was over for him, man. Vatos gave up and tapped out because they didn't want any more of that funk. But this also took place for the East Side Fresno 14 Bulldogs and all other Bulldogs, man. Not just the East Side, but I just like saying that shit. The Perros. They went through their situations. And what happened was the administration felt that for no other reason, they should bring out certain group segments 5 at a time to mix and mingle on these yardas, hoping that if for some other reason they should work out their conflict. But of course, that wasn't to have ever happened, especially with the group like the Perros, the Bulldogs. You got to understand the Bulldogs have always been EBK. Anybody can get it against the grain. And it was cold that night. If the wind's blowing that way, they're running this way. They're making it happen. And this is what happened. You know, in certain prisons, I know it was Pleasant Valley, Soledad, a couple other prisons. What the administration did was they brought out 5 Perros and 5 vatos from down south or 5 vatos from up north. And they kept them separated by a fence and let them try to work this out. And then eventually, man, that shit didn't crack, man. Nothing got worked out. And vatos took flight when they had that chance. You know, they got off where they were mad at. And the Perros got off more so than everyone else. Reason being, man, the Perros are always up short. They're the minority, so they know, man, get off where you're mad at. Get off first so you get that upper hand. And I understand that because I went through the same type of situation where you try to get that upper hand. It's just the art of war. It's what happens in life in general. So there was even a point in time where they brought 5 vatos from down south and 5 Perros, and they separated them by a fence, hoping that these vatos would talk it out. Now, the administration, man, tries their little boom bazzling, their little boom dangle shit, boopity boop boop boop, to try to ease tensions, to try to do less paperwork, man, hoping that it'll work out, you know, but history dictates itself, man. This shit never works. It never materializes, never happens. And these vatos, being up to par and being up on game and being truly dedicated to the cause that they believe in, actually talks amongst each other saying, hey, trip out. It's like this. As soon as these fucking gates crack, we're going to get off. So be the reason, man. And everybody knows it's usually business before pleasure. With some vatos, it's pleasure. They don't give a fuck. And this is what happened. Vatos got off on each other. Now, there was 42 incidences that were documented. And a Perro got at me himself. He called me. He said, I said, if it's major, hit me on my pager. He said, ring it, ring it, ring it, ring it. He ringed my telephone and he got at me. And he told me the stories because he was actually present when this took place. He said they talked. There was no woofing involved. There was no talking shit. It was just, hey, you vatos meet us on the other side of that fence. And it's on and cracking as soon as the placas opened the gate. And that's exactly what took place. And it cracked off. Now, you have to understand, man, it's always been like this. There's an ultimate respect between all these 3 groups. You know, vatos ain't tripping, man, on nothing else other than being truly dedicated to what they believe in. And that's it, plain and simple, period. And the Bulldogs are just like the rest. They believe in what they believe in. You know, there's a lot of history that goes into all 3 of these groups, man. And for the administration to try to throw them out, that's playing that gladiator shit. That's Gladiator Wars. You know these vatos don't get along. You know these vatos, to what degree of not getting along? We can't call it like an alcoholic, but at the same time, they're going to throw these motherfuckers together and tell them to handle their business. And they did, okay? And write-ups, 115s were flying, and the placas, they got a lot of overtime that day. And that's just the way it cracked off, and that's just the way it went down, man. And it tends to go down in certain situations like that, okay? And I've been through it. This is not the first time that this shit has happened that the Perros had to go through it. And I call it the Bulldog Gladiator Wars because it always involved the Bulldogs. You know, it was a big, bright idea to get them to be cool with everyone else. Shit ain't going to happen, especially with the Norteños. You already know right off the top, it's right on site. It ain't going to happen. It's going to keep cracking. It's just what it is. And to the vatos that are in position to make that call, dictate that otherwise. When they do it, that's their business. They decide how it's going to go. People are going to adhere to that, and it's going to go that route. But until then, the administration is never going to have dictation over any of these three groups and what they truly believe in, man. They could put them on the same yardas, but them motherfuckers are going to rock it and roll it. And that's guaranteed. And in menudo style, in a direct fashion, menudo. That's what's going to happen. But I myself went through this form of oppression, this form of gladiator school. You know, in the history, people know that in the California Youth Authority, man, they always sent Southsiders, vatos from down south up north. You know, and believe when they first started sending them, it was on and cracking. It was rocking and rolling. It was going down. It's coming. It was going down tonight or in the daytime. So I guess sometimes in the middle of the afternoon, right after lunch, vatos got off. You know what I mean? That's just how it happened. Eventually, they're so thick. They're the majority in numbers, man. Everyone calmed down and they started to program up north. And there was, of course, melees and riots and certain one-on-ones and situations professionally happened. But that's how it happened. But when they started throwing us down south, and first time they did it, they sent it to Paso. Vatos were climbing fences. There was drive-by shootings from the outside. Vatos were getting off. It didn't last too long because the vatos that were from down south that were in Paso weren't having it. They weren't going out like that. Sasuke, they were making it crack, you know. So that didn't work out in the administration's favor, and they took Northerners out of there. Okay, again, they tried it in YTS, but of course they knew better, so they did better. And they put the Norteños straight to the rock, which is the oil. Straight to the oil. They never once hit mainline there. I know it. I had homeboys that went from Nellis to the oil in the rock, and that was what it was, man, because I'm going to tell you right now, TS, just like Chad, it will crack. Okay, another form of oppression they did was Chad. Mad Chad, the white elephant. For anyone that was ever in Chad, pobrecito. Chad was cracking. It was on a cracking. It was a gladiator school in itself. It was Tracy, just like Tracy was when Tracy was Tracy. You feel me? And what they used to do is, and people that were there can tell you, back in the early 90s, where they would bring two vatos from every group segment out. Two perros, two Southsiders, two Norteños, whites, blacks, oh my. And they would put them all in the day room and they were shackled with their hands on their side, and they would expect these guys to fraternize and kick it. Of course, as soon as the placas would hit the corner, Saz! Oh! It was Bruce Lee time. Vatos were getting off like Lone Wolf McQuaid, and it was a whole lot of Bruce Lees and a whole lot of Chuck Norrises going this way and that way, and throw a little Rambo in, a little Rocky, and you know what I'm saying, Adrian? It was going down. Vatos were getting off. And this happened daily, day after day after day. Administration would not give up, and of course, these vatos had no quit in them. They had no bullshit in them. They had nothing but realism, ideals, and you know what it was. They were down for their cause, and that's what took place. Administration caused that. You didn't have to bring these vatos out. You knew these vatos weren't going to fucking just get along and sing Kumbaya. Charlie home, there was no holding hands. They were shackled up. But the kickboxing was intense and the kickboxing was real. I had plenty of homeboys that went through them situations, you know. Sometimes they would bring out 3 Northerners and 2 Bulldogs and 1 Sureño. Sometimes it was vice versa. However, that fucking placa felt that day, whatever they could do to make that mix happen, they made it happen. Okay, think about that. Oppression on the brown people. This is what happens. Again, when I was in Fred C. Nellis and CYA, same thing was happening. So I was going to throw these vatos down there. They sent us down there like meat on the slaughter rack, like, you know, the slaughters. And vatos were getting off, you know. Plenty of, so I still got a bump right here for when vato hit me. It never stopped, you know. But we never gave up. There was no quit in us. Like I said, man, we didn't give a fuck what the administration was doing. And we knew about the fucking turmoil and the bind that they were trying to put us in, but we weren't adhering to it. We weren't going out like that. So we were going to be gladiators in this Coliseum, and so I was going to make it happen like the Oakland Coliseum. I thought we were hitting home runs. And of course, man, it wasn't us winning all the time or the Southsiders winning all the time. It was everyone getting off where they were mad at. And eventually the perros fell off and went their own way, and it was on and cracking with them as well. Okay? And this is just how it is. Okay, but history repeats itself, and even the administration knows this, right? So when they tried in 2018, 19, and 20 to do this with the Bulldogs, well, this shit ain't gonna work, right? Someone should have knew it and said it, but of course they're not, because you don't go against the grain with your own people. So they felt that if for no other reason, they were gonna try to integrate the perros with the South and the North, and that didn't materialize. Not because nobody wanted it, but because it wasn't the timing, it wasn't the place, it wasn't the time, and vatos weren't ready to do that. Now, when it comes to the Fresno Bulldogs, these perros, like I said, they're EBK all day to the day they die, right? They're against everyone, against the grain. Their belief system is totally different from the North and the South. They believe they're renegades. Vata, they're out there renegading. Bring my feria back, Charlie, I'm renegading. They're out there renegading, doing their thing. They're true believers in what they believe in. That's the way they're laced up. They know their history, and they're going to continue as such. And a lot of people sleep on the Perros. They say, oh, the Vatos are segregated. They're not on the main lines. They're not on this. They're not on that. You got the game fucked up. These Vatos are everywhere they want to be and everywhere they should be. Okay? And yeah. In the beginning, they were segregated. And yes, there is a lot of times the Bulldogs are kept separately. It's not for their own safety and security. It's for everybody else's safety and security as well. Because look, every man can pick up steel. Every man knows how to pop one time. Every man will handle his business. That's just a respect factor. That's respecting. That's well known. And the Bulldogs are not to be slept on. Bow, wow, wow. They handle their shit. But in 2018 and 19, someone within administration decided that they should try again. They dust themselves off and try again, right? And they said, we're going to put these Vatos on the fucking, behind a fence and let them talk it out. And of course, it didn't work out. Now, I see it as a form of oppression. Okay? Brown people, wake up. You know, they know what time it is. If you know one group segment doesn't get along with another group segment, there's different ways to go about possibly making a truce or possibly getting these guys to talk some shit out. Now, these guys that they were putting on these yardas were not in no position whatsoever to discuss some type of camaraderie or some type of fucking getting together and being cool. Okay, there's people that are in position to dictate that, and then people are to be respected, and that's that. Beep it boop. We won't even speak on that. That's their business. When they say it's go time, it's go time. When they say it's no time, you know, it definitely ain't ho time. So you need to kick back and do that. And this was all war zone. This was a no-fly zone. You know, shout out to Big Lou. This was not anything where people were getting along at this point in time. You know, this was, these Bulldogs were not going to adhere to that. They had already decided they weren't going to be involved in the end of hostilities. They weren't going to conform to that peace treaty or that situation or whatever you want to call it. And that's just that. You know, and the Bulldogs have always been on their own. You know, when they broke off from the Norteños, they decided that for no other reason, they weren't going to adhere to nobody. Of course, they played their position right. Sasuke, these some sneaky individuals sometimes. If they're on yardas and the Southsiders are very deep, hey, we're just Perros. We're not Norteños. We're not woo-woo. They try to get in where they fit in and wiggle and do their time. You know, and then when there's Norteños, well, that's a whole different story. It's all-out war. It's on site. It never was. Because, you know, it is what it is. On 55th, there's some DPing that's going to happen, right? And it won't be filmed. The revolution will not be televised. That's just how the get down is. Okay? But yes, the administration was trying this. And they tried it with us, man. I remember, man, they put us in some certain situations in Nellis, man, when I was younger. And I was just like, good Lord, man. You know they don't like us. Shit. And we kept going to the oil. We kept fucking eating them sack lunches. That bologna. Oh my, that bologna was bombing when you were fucking starving. And then you would go right back and it just kept on going, kept on going. And there was placas. Not all are bad. There was some that felt some type of way about it. They were like, this, it ain't cool, right? They just weren't down with that. They were tired of doing write-ups. They didn't like the overtime. And they were tired of seeing young kids basically being oppressed and being beat up and being jerked around from compa to compa, building to building, and being used as rag dolls just so some fucking politician or administrator can be happy and say, look, see, I came up with the plan. They get along. So did you see that knife sticking out of Vato's head? They ain't getting along. And that's just what it was. You got to understand, and let's take a second to slow it down. With groups like the Bulldogs, no one's going to tell these Vatos what to do. It's not happening. Over history, it's been decades. No one has been able to do it. You can't calm these Vatos down. They're of an understanding that they are against everybody. Okay, so when the administration tries their little slick fucking cool tactics, it's probably not going to happen. You know, and that's why out of these 45 incidences that did take place between 2018 and 2020, when administration finally Conor McGregor, right, and tapped out and decided, Charlie, it's not working. You know, let's go back to the drawing board. These Vatos were responsible for 32 of those incidences. Okay, now that doesn't mean the North and the South weren't up to par and weren't handling their business. Oh, that's far from that. You already know these motherfuckers will bang you out one time for your mentality. What it was the Bulldogs were getting the upper hand because administration was actually bringing more of them out, or they were making that first move their best move, right? Or that next move their best move. Reason being is, like I said, they're the minority group. They know they have to get off, and they're of the understanding already, shit ain't never going to happen. Shit ain't never going to work out. Now, of course, the other groups knew this too, and they were just playing their cards right. If the wind's blowing that way, Vato, you go that way, I go this way. Sas! You already know what time it is. Pedazo time. You know what I mean? Not hammer time, pedazo time. And that's how some of these incidents went. There was people that were meta-flighted out, and a lot of this shit was swept under the rug by administration. And that's why I'm bringing it to you, because not a lot of people know about them 18, 19, 20 Bulldog Gladiator wars. Okay? And when people think gladiators, man, you think warriors. You know, and what do you expect these convicts, these inmates to be? Vatos are not going in with the mind state of, damn, man, I want to go in, I want to fight, I want to get put on the yard with my enemies and handle business. You know, there are some youngsters that think that way. They want to go in there, they want to prove themselves, they want to handle their business, they want to show what they're all about. But following that yellow brick road and handling it, man, ain't always going to pan out the way you want it. See, you pay attention to the man behind the curtain, and he's playing everyone, you know? So that's not what people think about. They think about just going in there, doing their tiempo, man, being with their familias when they get out and living another day. Now, of course, a lot of vatos, man, are going to do what they have to do to make it happen for their safety and security, and also, man, to be in righteous standings, because they're true believers in what they believe in. And every different story is going to be different. My story, your story, his story, their story. Oh my, even Miguel Meyer right there. So look at my story, right? He's fucking his head chopped off. Everyone got different stories. Okay? And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But when it comes to the Fresno Bulldogs, you know, everybody already knows what time it is with these guys. You know, and a lot of people, and it trips me out because a lot of people disrespect them. They're like, oh, these Bulldogs ain't about nothing. They never leave Fresno. They ain't going nowhere. I myself know for a fact these vatos be wiggling. Now, you're not going to see them in big cities like San Jose, and of course in Los, you're not going to see them like that. But there's a little bit of dog everywhere, right? They're everywhere. That's a fact. They might not have established barrios, established hoods. They might not be doing it like that. But you're going to see a Bulldog here and a Bulldog there. There's dog paws frequently flying. It's just what it is. They got their frequent flyer miles. But what this administration was doing by causing these gladiator wars, this was caused by them. When you bring inmates or vatos that are warring and beefing traditionally over the years out into a yard, yes, that's I understand the reasoning. I understand the reasoning behind it, man. Shit gets old after a while. I'm a firm believer in the push of unity for all raza. Hey, I got love for my Sureño homeboys. I got love for the Perros. I got love for the LKs, the Latin Kings. I got love for the Norteños. Oh my, you already know what it is. But at the end of the day, I understand. I'm a firm believer in understanding that it's not always going to be crimson and clove. It's not always going to be fucking wine and roses. Vatos are not always going to get along. Who the fuck am I? How is my voice being felt to say we all need to get along? I'm going to rock that narrative. I'm going to rock that rhyme because I believe in the shit, but not everyone else does. You know, there's vatos that say, fuck that, Holmes. My name's Bennett and I'm in it, right? And they're true warriors. And I got to give them the respect. But for the administration to do this, they knew what time it was already, man. Just like in Corco, they knew what time it was. Bring out cell C3 and C4. Hey, but that's a Norteño and a Sureño. Oh my, right? I got 50 on it. They were getting their bet on. You know, they were wiggling and doing what they did at that time, not to cause any type of truce or show love and show unity. The only ones that are going to show unity and love are those vatos that get tired of the oppression. And vatos are not dumb enough to keep playing the administration's game. When they're tired of being oppressed, they're like, oh, you vatos think you're going to play us. Vatos are pretty smart. They're going to be like, Charles, Holmes, and post up. And the vatos are going to be like, isn't the vatos supposed to be fighting this shit? What happened, bro? They did yesterday. So I don't think they're going out like that today. Sas! Now they are, right? These are the war tactics they were using. Now with the Bulldog Gladiator Wars, it never got to that point. The administration was basically trying to do a good thing. They were trying to get these Bulldogs on board with the end of hostilities, man. The Bulldogs said, fuck that, Charlie. We ain't with that program. Now, I'm a true and firm believer, man, that the end of hostilities is a good thing. But at the end of the day, man, the Bulldogs, for their reasons and their reasons alone, believe it's not. Okay? And this is what happened. And like I said, man, I've seen the oppression happen throughout the years, man. And I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't happen, man, and that I'm just seeing something that ain't there. And Charlie, there wasn't no gladiator. Well, I didn't hear about it, gun. Well, you don't hear about everything, and I don't hear about everything. But when I hear about something, I'll let you know. Bang, bang. If I can righteously do that. If I can't, then I won't. And bang, bang. It's like that. But anyway, so this is what took place with the Fresno Bulldogs. I give them the ultimate love and respect, man, because they handled their business. You know, just like every other group segment also gets that respect because they handled theirs too. What did the administration expect? Did you think that these vatos were going to kick back and hold hands? Because Charlie Holmes, they got to have faith to faith. Nah, they ain't with that George Michael shit, man. They're going to get off where they were mad at, and that's what they did. And it happened like that. Anyways, man, I hope that you go out there, that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you're from. We're fucking brown, you know what I mean? We're brown and proud. We're going to be a proud people. We're going to be warriors. We're going to be gladiators and do what we have to do to maintain our causes and what we believe in. Whatever that cause may be, and everyone's is a little bit different, it's all about the key word, the number one respect. I should have it right here. I'm going to get a thing that says respect, respect, respect. It's all about respect to all the gente, man. You know? Hit a fucking thumbs up, like and subscribe if you like this. If you don't, man, hit that thumbs down. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, man. It's the gun. I try to bring you what I can bring you, man. Some unheard of stories or maybe some stories you heard of, but in my way. Bang, bang, the gun. You know what it is.